Welcome to our exploration of ethical considerations in medical research. In today's world, medical studies are crucial for advancing healthcare, but they must be conducted responsibly. Ethics in research isn't just a set of rules, it's a commitment to respect, fairness, and the well-being of participants. This video will guide you through the key principles, challenges, and best practices for designing ethical medical research. Let's begin by understanding why ethics matter so much in this field and how they shape every step of the research process, from planning to publication. Truly appreciate the importance of ethics in medical research. It helps to look back at history. There have been times when research was conducted without proper ethical oversight, leading to serious harm. Notable examples include the Tuskegee syphilis study and unethical experiments during World War II. These events highlighted the need for strict ethical guidelines and led to the development of foundational documents like the Nuremberg Code and the Declaration of Helsinki. Understanding this context reminds us why ethical standards are non-negotiable in today's research landscape. Modern medical research is guided by several core ethical principles. These include respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. Respect for persons means recognizing the autonomy of participants and protecting those with diminished autonomy. Beneficence requires researchers to maximize benefits and minimize harm. Justice ensures that the benefits and burdens of research are distributed fairly. These principles form the backbone of ethical decision-making in research and are referenced in nearly every ethical guideline worldwide. One of the most important aspects of ethical research is obtaining informed consent. This means that participants must be fully informed about the study's purpose, procedures, risks, and benefits before agreeing to take part. Informed consent is not just a formality, it's a process of communication and understanding. Researchers must ensure that participants comprehend the information and are free to make their own decisions without pressure or coercion. This protects participants' rights and builds trust in the research process. Protecting the privacy and confidentiality of research participants is a fundamental ethical obligation. Researchers must handle personal and medical information with care, ensuring that data is stored securely and only shared with authorized individuals. Breaches of confidentiality can have serious consequences, including social stigma or discrimination. By prioritizing privacy, researchers demonstrate respect for participants and uphold the integrity of the research process. Every medical study involves some level of risk, but ethical research requires that these risks are minimized and justified by potential benefits. Researchers must carefully assess the likelihood and severity of possible harms, as well as the value of the knowledge to be gained. This risk-benefit analysis is reviewed by ethics committees to ensure that participants are not exposed to unnecessary danger. Striking the right balance is essential for ethical research design. Groups such as children, the elderly, or individuals with cognitive impairments are considered vulnerable in research settings. These populations may have limited ability to give informed consent or may be at greater risk of harm. Ethical research requires additional safeguards to protect these individuals, such as obtaining consent from legal guardians or providing extra monitoring. Researchers must be especially vigilant to ensure that vulnerable participants are not exploited. Institutional review boards, or IRBs, play a critical role in overseeing the ethics of medical research. These independent committees review study protocols to ensure that ethical standards are met and that participants are protected. IRBs evaluate informed consent procedures, risk-benefit analyses, and the inclusion of vulnerable populations. Their approval is required before research can begin, making them a key safeguard in the research process. Transparency is essential for maintaining public trust in medical research. Researchers should clearly communicate their methods, funding sources, and any potential conflicts of interest. Transparent reporting allows others to evaluate the validity of the findings and ensures accountability. When researchers are open about their work, it helps prevent misconduct and promotes a culture of honesty and integrity in science. Conflicts of interest can arise when researchers have financial or personal interests that could influence their work. These conflicts may affect study design, data interpretation, or reporting. Ethical guidelines require researchers to disclose any potential conflicts and take steps to manage them. This might involve independent oversight or recusal from certain decisions. Addressing conflicts of interest helps maintain the credibility of research findings. Scientific integrity is at the heart of ethical research. This means conducting studies honestly, accurately, and objectively. Researchers must avoid practices like data fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism. Upholding scientific integrity not only advances knowledge but also protects the reputation of the scientific community. When integrity is compromised, it can lead to mistrust and harm to both participants and society. Ethical research often involves participants from diverse cultural backgrounds. Ethical research requires sensitivity to cultural differences in beliefs, values, and practices. Researchers should engage with communities, seek input from local leaders, and adapt study procedures as needed. Respecting cultural diversity not only improves the quality of research, but also ensures that studies are relevant and acceptable to participants. Compensating research participants is a common practice, but it must be handled ethically. Payments should not be so large that they become coercive or unduly influence participation. Instead, compensation should fairly reflect the time, inconvenience, or expenses involved. Clear guidelines help ensure that compensation is appropriate and does not compromise voluntary participation. Proper data management is essential for ethical research. This includes collecting, storing, and analyzing data in ways that protect participant privacy and ensure accuracy. Researchers must use secure systems, limit access to sensitive information, and follow data retention policies. Good data management practices not only safeguard participants but also support the reliability of research findings. During medical studies, unexpected adverse events can occur. Ethical guidelines require researchers to promptly report these events to oversight bodies and, when necessary, to participants. Transparent reporting helps protect participant safety and allows for timely adjustments to study protocols. It also contributes to the broader knowledge base, helping future researchers anticipate and manage risks. Engaging with the community is an important part of ethical research, especially in studies that impact specific populations. Researchers should involve community members in the design and implementation of studies, listen to their concerns, and address their needs. Community engagement builds trust, improves study relevance, and helps ensure that research benefits those it is intended to serve. After a study ends, participants may benefit from continued access to treatments or interventions that proved effective. Ethical guidelines encourage researchers to plan for post-trial access, especially in cases where participants would otherwise lose access to beneficial care. This consideration reflects a commitment to participant welfare beyond the duration of the study. Publishing research findings is a key part of the scientific process, but it comes with ethical responsibilities. Researchers must report results honestly, avoid selective reporting, and give proper credit to collaborators. Plagiarism and duplicate publication are serious violations. Ethical publication practices ensure that the scientific record is accurate and trustworthy. Research misconduct, such as falsifying data or manipulating results, undermines the integrity of science. Institutions must have clear policies for investigating and addressing misconduct. Researchers should be aware of these policies and report any concerns. Addressing misconduct promptly helps maintain public trust and protects the validity of scientific knowledge. Ethical research is a global endeavor, and international guidelines help harmonize ethical standards across countries. Documents like the Declaration of Helsinki and the CIOMS guidelines provide frameworks for ethical research worldwide. Researchers working in different regions must be familiar with both local and international requirements to ensure their studies are ethically sound. Genetic research introduces unique ethical challenges, such as the potential for discrimination based on genetic information. Researchers must take extra precautions to protect participant privacy and obtain specific consent for genetic studies. It's also important to consider the implications for family members who may be affected by genetic findings. Use of placebos in clinical trials raises important ethical questions. While placebos can help determine the effectiveness of new treatments, their use must be justified, especially if effective therapies already exist. Researchers must ensure that participants are not denied necessary care and are fully informed about the possibility of receiving a placebo. Animal studies play a role in medical research, but they come with ethical responsibilities. Researchers must follow the principles of replacement, reduction, and refinement to minimize animal use and suffering. Ethical review boards oversee animal studies to ensure humane treatment and scientific justification for their use. New technologies such as artificial intelligence and big data are transforming medical research. These advances raise fresh ethical questions about data privacy, algorithmic bias, and informed consent. Researchers must stay up to date with evolving guidelines and consider the broader impacts of technology on participants and society. Participants have the right to withdraw from a study at any time for any reason without penalty. Researchers must make this right clear during the consent process and respect participants' decisions. Ensuring the freedom to withdraw is a key aspect of respecting autonomy and maintaining ethical standards. Many medical studies are conducted at multiple sites, sometimes across different countries. Coordinating ethical oversight in these cases can be complex. Researchers must ensure that all sites adhere to consistent ethical standards and that local regulations are respected. Effective communication and collaboration are essential for ethical multi-site research. Sometimes, researchers use data collected for one purpose in new studies. This secondary use of data raises ethical questions about consent and privacy. Researchers must ensure that participants have agreed to the new use or seek additional consent when necessary. Protecting privacy remains a top priority in secondary data analysis. Conducting research during emergencies such as pandemics or natural disasters presents unique ethical challenges. The urgency of the situation may limit the ability to obtain informed consent or conduct thorough reviews. Researchers must balance the need for rapid data collection with the obligation to protect participants and uphold ethical standards. Research involving children requires special ethical considerations. Children cannot provide legal consent, so permission must be obtained from parents or guardians. Researchers must also ensure that studies are appropriate for children and that risks are minimized. Ongoing communication with both children and their guardians is essential for ethical pediatric research. Older adults may face unique risks in medical research, such as increased vulnerability to side effects or cognitive decline. Ethical research requires careful assessment of capacity to consent and additional safeguards to protect this population. Researchers should also consider the specific health needs and preferences of older participants. Conducting research in low-resource settings can present ethical challenges related to infrastructure, access to care, and cultural differences. Researchers must ensure that studies are relevant to local needs and that participants are not exploited. Building partnerships with local communities and respecting local customs are key to ethical research in these contexts. Biobanking involves collecting and storing biological samples for future research. Ethical considerations include obtaining informed consent for storage and future use, protecting donor privacy, and ensuring that samples are used responsibly. Clear policies and transparent communication help maintain trust in biobanking initiatives. Ethical review process is a cornerstone of responsible research. Before a study begins, protocols are reviewed by independent committees to ensure that risks are minimized, consent is adequate, and vulnerable populations are protected. This process provides an important check on researcher decisions and helps maintain high ethical standards. Clinical trials are a major part of medical research, and they require strict ethical oversight. Researchers must ensure that trials are scientifically valid, risks are justified, and participants are fully informed. Ongoing monitoring is essential to detect and address any issues that arise during the trial. Ethical clinical trials contribute to safer and more effective healthcare. Observational studies which do not involve interventions still require ethical oversight. Researchers must ensure that data collection respects participant privacy and that findings are reported honestly. Even without direct interventions, participants' rights and well-being must be protected throughout the study. Qualitative research, such as interviews or focus groups, often explores sensitive topics. Ethical considerations include obtaining informed consent, protecting confidentiality, and being sensitive to participants' emotional well-being. Researchers must be prepared to provide support or referrals if participants experience distress during the study. Digital health research, including mobile apps and wearable devices, is rapidly growing. These studies raise ethical questions about data security, informed consent, and the potential for digital exclusion. Researchers must ensure that digital tools are accessible, secure, and that participants understand how their data will be used. Global health research often involves collaborations across countries and cultures. Ethical challenges include respecting local customs, ensuring fair benefit sharing, and addressing power imbalances. Building equitable partnerships and engaging with local stakeholders are essential for ethical global health research. Health policy research can influence decisions that affect entire populations. Ethical considerations include transparency, stakeholder engagement, and the potential for unintended consequences. Researchers must carefully consider the broader impacts of their work and strive to promote policies that benefit public health. Health services research examines how healthcare is delivered and how it can be improved. Ethical issues include protecting patient privacy, obtaining appropriate permissions, and ensuring that research benefits patients and providers. Collaboration with healthcare organizations and clear communication are key to ethical health services research. Implementation research focuses on how to put evidence-based interventions into practice. Ethical considerations include respecting the needs and preferences of those affected, ensuring that interventions are appropriate, and monitoring for unintended effects. Engaging with stakeholders throughout the process helps ensure that implementation is both effective and ethical. Translational research bridges the gap between laboratory discoveries and patient care. Ethical challenges include ensuring that new interventions are safe, effective, and accessible. Researchers must also consider the broader social and economic impacts of translating research into practice. Behavioral research explores how people make health-related decisions. Ethical considerations include avoiding manipulation, respecting autonomy, and ensuring that interventions are evidence-based. Researchers must be transparent about study goals and avoid practices that could harm participants' well-being. Ethical standards in medical research are constantly evolving. Ongoing education and training help researchers stay up to date with new guidelines and best practices. Institutions should provide regular opportunities for ethics education to ensure that all researchers are equipped to conduct responsible studies. As we've seen, designing ethical considerations into medical research is a complex but essential task. By following established guidelines, engaging with communities, and staying informed about new challenges, researchers can protect participants and advance science responsibly. The future of medical research depends on our collective commitment to ethics, transparency, and respect for all involved.